feel like Mike Jordan. Give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. Yeah, they know that we ain't the same. 402, we rap the game. I told them this ain't a game.
Yo. What's up, everybody? Eric, what's going on, bro?
What up, buddy? How are you today?
I am good, man. How you doing?
Man, you know what? I'm great. I'm feeling good. Had a great weekend. I'm pretty excited, pretty happy. Can't complain, man. Cannot complain.
I see you got the Manchester.
Nope, wrong. Get out.
Is that
Nope.
which
Get
one?
out. Get
Which
out.
one is
That's
it? Which one
Show's
is it?
over. Thank you guys for joining
Is
the
it-
BLC today, guys. We'll see you guys next week here on another episode of.
Oh, it's Real Madrid, right?
No, wrong again. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Here in the
Chivas. Welcome back, everybody, to Big League Chicago. I'm Rick here with Eric. We are brought to you by Star 6 Media. Obviously, this is an EAFP, or else I'd be completely out of the fucking show because I can't even get the jersey right. But welcome. Eric, what do you got on the board back there?
Ooh, it's easy. It's plain and simple. Other than come on, you Gunners, which is I got right there, thinking the check was going to be on. But I says, come on, Bulls, blow it up. Simple and straight to the point.
And a great point, because it leads us right into the C-Red segment, which, you know, the Bulls 21-24 as of right now. They are 10th, I think, right now in the East, which puts them in the play-in spot, the very last play-in spot, but nonetheless a play-in spot for the playoffs. And they just came off the win in Paris. They beat the Pistons 126-108. Zach had a really good game, 30 points. DeMar added 26. Vooch added another double-double, 16 points, 15 rebounds. And we had Jones Jr. with a couple of huge dunks actually in that game, 12 points off the bench, and then Kobe White with 10 points off the bench. And it was a star-studded event, man. I think I forgot who said it, but it was like this is the closest thing to like a European all-star game that France or Europe in general could have, because you had the presumed number 1 overall pick, Victor Wembanyama, sitting courtside there at the game. Other celebrities that were there: Magic Johnson, you had Richard Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Tony Parker, Joakim Noah. Our boy BJ Armstrong was there too. So it was a huge event. Luckily the Bulls got the win there. A pretty convincing win against, it's the bad Pistons. I think they're like the second or third worst team in the league. But what did you think of that game? And then we'll kind of get into the blow it up here soon after that.
Honestly, I just do not understand why first of all, it was against the Pistons. Let me backtrack what I'm about to say right now, right? It was against the Pistons, right? But the stigma for the Chicago Bulls this year is they're losing against these bad teams, right? And part of me wanted to feel like, okay, cool, they're away from home, far away from home, they're on the road. I think it was a Pistons home game, if I'm not mistaken, too.
It was technically a home game.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't played since Thursday, so imagine that being that off that many days, right? Mm-hmm. They played today against the Hawks, but anyways, like part of me felt like, for some reason, I just don't have this good feeling about the Chicago Bulls today. And man, I was wrong.
Yeah,
that game was probably like for the first time that I've seen so far the Bulls games throughout the whole entire year that they played the most complete.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then I'll give credit where credit's due. Right, it looked like a most complete game. I think there was like 6 players in double digits in scoring, or maybe even more than that. I'm trying to remember, this happened on Thursday, But even outside of that was probably like the most complete game the Chicago Bulls played so far throughout the whole entire year. And then we put it in our little group chat. Like, if only the Bulls can play in Paris every single year like that, come and bring that over and stuff like that, might as well just finish the season in Paris. And then after being for that brief second, like I'm talking about like that. Like I switched up and like, but it was against the Pistons. Like, what the hell were you even tripping about? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
cool. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to beat the Pistons. Like, we're not supposed to be excited that you have a complete game against the Pistons when your record is still 3 games below 500. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah. And
mixed emotions for me with these Chicago Bulls.
Exactly. And I think the only thing you kind of look at, right, is that they were able to beat that bad team. Last time we were on here, which was a couple weeks ago, apologies for, not streaming a BLC episode last week. But a couple weeks ago, Jose was on here. I think it was us three talking about that. And we're like, why are the Bulls the opposite of last year where they're losing against these bad teams, but they're like one of 3 teams with like 15 wins or something like that against the top teams in like the NBA, which is insane. Like why is it that way? So I think that's the only thing positive you can look at. Plus they're on the international stage. So it just makes the Bulls look better. The last time they were there, what was it? 92 or something like that. 1992.
Has it been that long? I don't know.
I think so. I maybe
really?
It was a bit after that.
I think it was I thought it was like I saw 95 or 96.
Oh, okay. Maybe in 96 then.
They recreated that picture though when they were in front of the Eiffel Tower. I remember them recreating that picture.
That was actually kind of dope. I like that.
Yeah.
But it just continues to be like the Bulls are the most confusing team in the NBA. They're able to have these stellar games against these top teams, and somehow you get to the bad teams like the Pistons or something like that. Or I mean, not in this case, but bad teams, and then they start losing. So but again, they beat the Pistons, so it's kind of the positive, like you said. You got to look at it in a positive light. They were able to beat a bad team, but when kind of going from there, before this Pistons win, they were able to beat the Warriors, which I mean, the Warriors aren't anything to be excited or crazy about, but it's still the Warriors. It's still Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Poole and all these guys, but they lose to the Thunder, the Wizards. They lost to the Celtics, which on a close game, but you shifting it back to the Bulls as a whole, blow it up, right? We're blowing it up. We've said this before. I think we've talked about this before. Is the feeling to blow it up for you at least cemented now more with just how bad the season has gone?
I think it was cemented even before the season even started for me.
That's true.
I've said it plenty of times, and not only in this podcast, but in our podcast too as well, that the biggest mistake that the Bulls did this offseason wasn't even re-signing Billy Donovan under the table. You know what I mean? That was secretly signing under the table, right? Yeah. But the problem was giving Zach LaVine that contract, and that's always been the problem. They didn't retool. Like, I would understand if you re-sign him, but then you add a couple of players to it, like key players, key role players, right? Because that's kind of what you kind of need, right? If you don't have a superstar on your team like the Bulls don't have, you at least have to have some decent role players. And that's where you have to be deep in the bench, right? That's, Alan Letsudo. I mean, the last time we seen that is the Detroit Pistons, right? I mean, you can even put the Dallas Mavericks up there with the Dirk Nowitzki championship one. Even though they had Dirk, who was a superstar, it was basically Dirk and everybody else, but they had great role players. I mean, Jason Kidd, Terry, so on and so forth, Tyson Chandler, you could go on and on, but role players. And the Bulls didn't either. The Bulls didn't sign a bunch of role players, good role players. They didn't. And so they really stayed complacent. They were really waiting on Lonzo Ball to come back, and they may not even going to get him back. So at this point, it's kind of like, okay, so what are we doing? I think that's the $1 million question. What are the Bulls doing? They committed themselves to this long-term contract to Zach LaVine. They're about to lose Vooch at the end of the year. I think DeMar DeRozan has 1 more year left in his contract. After next year, he's a free agent. He's looking for the max at 33, 34 years old, right? What kind of Lonzo Ball you're going to get, right? Alex Caruso, I think, is a free agent after next year, if I'm not mistaken, too, as well.
And his name is in trade talks, too, right now. Back to the Lakers.
I think there was a report that came out that I think the Bulls are not trading him nor Patrick Williams, but everybody else is good to go. Something like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you just sit back and like I think the word was untouchable. I think those were the only 2 players that were untouchable for that squad. And it's kind of like,
wow.
I'm like, I know No, everybody's up for grabs for this one. And
Yeah.
I ended our show last week on the JCA Sports Podcast talking about and I was like, you know what's crazy? Like Zach Levine just signed a 5-year deal over the summer. We're
Hmm.
trying to get rid of him 4 months later. Like make that make sense.
Yeah. Make that make sense. You can't as a Bulls organization, you can't because you go back to the Billy Donovan thing. Nobody knew about it. And now everybody's
No.
like, Jose's been the big advocate for it, was like the coaching is bad. And you
Yeah.
kind of do see that in right, like in certain situations, in certain games, you're like, okay, is this the best decision? We're not, these guys are untouchable. We're not trading this. It's more of an organizational thing. But yeah, Zach Levine, you sign him for 5 years, the 200 whatever million, 220. And then months later, you're like, oh, I wonder what we can get for a Zach Levine trade.
Right. Like
And it's the most,
I wonder what you're getting for DeMar DeRozan. What are you going to get for Vucevic? That's the main
yeah,
guy who you're going to lose at the end of the year. Everybody else is still under contract.
yeah. And it's just, again, this is why the Bulls continue to be the most confusing team in basketball, is because not only is their record weird where they're beating these good teams and they're losing against these really bad teams, but like you said, what are we doing here? Are we just kind of, and if Jack was here, he probably would agree, with a Reinsdorf team, are we just kind of trying to be there where we're like getting ticket sales, merch sales, like we're getting enough money in, but not necessarily a championship team? And we're just kind of like, hey, we made the playoffs. Like that was good enough, right? And then we just fall off in the first round for however many years in a row you want to do that. Is that the kind of team the Bulls are? And it's been frustrating. And one of the things, and I'm sure I was listening to the JCA podcast last week. You guys mentioned that Die Hard Bulls fan page on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
They make the craziest trade ideas, but at one point it's kind of like this shit might work. I don't know. What do you think about like the trade? What do you think about the trade deadline? Like just what that page is saying about the deals and what you think should actually happen.
I mean, the most recent one, right, was the one that got me, right? Because last week we talked about the trades, and it's mainly more their posts, right?
Yeah.
Like this can be a championship contender, right? Like this trade can put us in the championship race, right? And you're talking about trading Zach Levine for like Miles Turner, and I forgot who else from the
like
Pacers,
like Buddy Hield or something like
right,
that.
buddy, exactly, man. And the one that made more sense to me, right? Obviously, I know it's not going to happen because there's going to be a lot more between it because of money and salary cap issues, right, for the NBA. But the one that I posted up on Facebook from that page
Yeah.
was the most recent one. Straight up. I'm talking about straight up, straight up.
Oh, I saw this. Yeah.
LeBron James for Zach Levine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I posted it. I'm like, I know I'm in the small minority in this one. And I'm okay with being in this small minority for this one. But I would do that trade in a heartbeat with no remorse. I'm paraphrasing my post, but I know it ended just like that.
Yeah.
I'll do it with no remorse. Because if you really, I said it earlier in previous podcasts,
Yeah.
there is no trade anywhere for the Chicago Bulls that'll make them contenders in the East.
Mm-hmm.
That trade puts them there. A 38-year-old,
Hot take right there.
a
Yeah.
38-year-old, or 37, or 36, or whatever how old LeBron James is.
He could be 45. I don't give a shit.
I don't care. As long as he can still play and he's been performing how he's been performing for the last couple days or last couple games,
Yeah.
I will take that in a heartbeat. And then you can make me. Well, I mean, we got rid of like literally the worst player on our team in Zach Levine. Yeah, I said it. Worst player on our team. He's overpaid for doing bare minimum, right? And I would definitely would say like I would do it straight up. Now I know it's not gonna happen. Like that's just crazy talk, right? I know that's not gonna happen. There's a lot more. I'm about to look it up right now while you give me your piece on the Chicago Bulls, but. Like straight up, LeBron James, just like that, LeBron James for Zach Levine. I don't even think about it, and I think the Bulls put themselves in a place where they may make some noise with this team with just a little bit few more adjustments.
And look, I think I might have to be in the minority there with you. Like, not only are we in the Mexicans minority
At
there
least I got
too,
one.
but we're in the minority of LeBron James. And here's why. Not only he brings a leadership to the team, right? And you have DeMar DeRozan with him too. Like, I think that's a pretty solid duo right there. If you just trade him straight up for Zach LaVine. But the biggest thing is, and this is just all based on hype and just like, is he going to be a good player or not? Bronny James coming to the Bulls if he wants to play with his dad, if that's a possibility, if it's like, hey, Bulls, draft Bronny James, and he's like this next great player, which may or may not happen. I know it's all hype, right? Like you never know, right?
It just depends on how far deep of a draft that you really have to go, right? Because obviously, Bronny James, the way how I see it, right, and the way how I envision Bronny James is like he's the name. It's just the name, and he could be like the 13th best player in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
The team that's picking fourth can pick him up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how I feel about Bronny James. And I haven't seen a lot. I know he's still in high school. I'm waiting for him to go into college. I'll probably see a little bit more games like that once he's in college. But that to me right now, like this present day, you and I on January 23rd, 2023 at 6:58 my time, 4:58 your time.
Jordan.
I no, shut up, Siri. I'm not talking. I think that's how Bronny James to me is being viewed. Like he's gonna be like the 15th best player, but he's gonna get picked within the top 5 because of the name.
You think he's kind of like Alonzo or like LaMelo in a sense, where they're not necessarily the best player on the board, but the name and the hype that follows them there is going to get them picked?
Mainly not Lonzo. I think Lonzo was already kind of like a late bloomer type thing, right? I think it was more like a like he was already in college when the name started coming out, right? It was mainly the other two, right? LaMelo and who's the other one?
Leo.
Yeah. And I think it was mainly more for them. But to be honest, I think it was mainly more for LaMelo. And I've always said, and I looked the highlight reels and stuff, and out of all the brothers, right? I did say Lonzo was going to be like that good player in the NBA, like that decent player. And you saw it in UCLA that like he could ball. He balled out in UCLA. The way how he reads the court, we've seen a little bit before he got hurt with the Chicago Bulls. The way he played, like this dude is a good floor general and a great player to have on your team. LaMelo was just going to be that extra step above.
Yeah,
and I've been right. And the other one, I don't need to know his name. Leangelo, I think that's his name. I forget.
Yeah.
He was just going to be the odd man out. And I mean,
Yeah.
I was so far was right, and it's been proven. Like it's just mainly those two.
Yeah, and I think he's only been on like a practice squad or the developmental league, the G League or whatever for the NBA. So he hasn't really made huge strides to be an NBA caliber player by any means. Real quick, we got CP in the comments. CP, what's up, man? Thank you for joining us here on Big League Chicago.
My boy CP. What up, bro? What up, bro?
Let us know. Hey, CP, let us know,
I think
man.
CP is also another one with us too, as well, that he'll trade LeBron James for Zach LaVine straight up.
I was just about to say
CP's a LeBron fan, just to put it out there.
So either way, like as long if LeBron could win a championship or if LeBron could look good on any team, he's down for it. But yeah, CP, let us know. I mean, if that trade makes sense to anybody joining us right now, LeBron for Zach LaVine straight up. If you guys like it, if you guys don't like it, obviously me and Eric are definitely in the trade for LeBron right now team. Just let us know if we're wrong or if we're right. As the Bulls
honestly,
are gearing
the
up right now.
Is sorry, I did the trade right now, and obviously it failed, right? Because I got a sign that says LeBron James cannot be traded because 6 months have not passed since he was signed an extension. He will be eligible to be traded the day after Valentine's Day.
Oh, so we got to wait a whole nother month. But even then, the trade.
Wait, no, but the trade deadline is earlier than that, isn't it? I gotta see it is.
I gotta look it up now.
I got you. This is why I'm here. let me go to the old Google machine.
Preach.
NBA trade deadline.
Might be like early February.
February 9th.
February 9th. Okay, so that it wouldn't be able to happen.
Nope, it wouldn't be able to happen.
Well, I mean,
Unless
it
I
was.
think unless if he signs that no trade clause that most players, if not all NBA players, have in their contract. I think if he releases it, I think that's another different story for another different day. But
Mm-hmm.
so right now, yeah, it's no good.
It's no good, and CP saying the same thing. He's like, you're out your damn mind. I would never do that trade. Doesn't make sense for either side.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
yeah,
the one thing that I like that diehard Chicago Bulls fan page is kind of like, uh, okay. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but I'll do it. You know what I mean?
but I
That's all I'm
mean,
saying.
it's just like think about it, right?
You're talking about the
Uh,
Lakers at their worst position ever that they ever been, and the Bulls being the Bulls right now. It's kind of like this trade, kind of like
and
because
but it's
you're getting 3 out of 5. LeBron with 5, LeBron with 3, Zach with 5. But even then, so
mm-hmm,
man, I know it's hard to say, but I mean, a trade like that will like shift the momentum for the Chicago Bulls. But in all reality, man, like something like that, if something like that does not happen, there is no trade out there for the Chicago Bulls to make them somewhat of a contender
yeah.
this year, man.
I mean, and you think about the magnitude that a trade like that would deliver. Like all eyes would be on the Bulls. The Bull, even if the Bulls aren't the best team with LeBron, if they were even an average team with LeBron, they would have all the primetime games. They would have a ton of coverage. Instead of getting ESPN updates about the Lakers, you'd get them about the Bulls and how they won or they lost, right? Because
Facts.
of LeBron and what he brings to a team like that.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that's the more value that brings into Chicago. Because don't get me wrong, Chicago is a big market,
Yeah.
and we've said it. It's the third biggest market in the United States, outside of California and New York, Los Angeles to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there. But the one thing about sports is that if your team is not good or you don't have a player to follow, you're not going to get that recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening with Chicago sports right now. Even though the Bulls, they were good last year, they really didn't have that player to like magnify, to like zone in on a little
Yeah.
bit, just to see like, oh look, the Chicago Bulls are doing this. They're just the Chicago Bulls are surprising, number one team in the East. Yada yada yada. This and that. We had that minimal coverage because the Bulls felt like they were back up until the Lonzo injury.
Yep.
You're right. Something like that, something of that trade that, like you just said, that magnitude of that trade just completely throws off the whole platform of the whole entire NBA. And now we're in a conversation to where like, what can the Bulls be? Can the Bulls beat this team? Imagine this match. You know what I mean? And you're right. The
Yep.
coverage would be maximized by 1,000, and even us
Oh
talking
yeah.
sports, the Chicago sports, and even the radio stations over here in Chicago too as well, that would be nothing to talk about. And guess what? They were overseed the Chicago Bears for a hot minute up until
Yep.
the NFL draft or the combine comes out. And even if that does happen, I honestly do feel that that will take a back seat.
Yeah. I mean, imagine how many more people are going to Bulls games. Imagine the price spike in tickets just to go see LeBron. That would be insane.
Oh,
More revenue and I'm talking like 300 section where you can get them for like $10. They'd go up to like 20, 25. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah,
They'd
and
go up.
see, no,
Sorry.
you're right. You're absolutely right, bro. Them seats are gonna be outrageously expensive.
Oh yeah.
What do we got?
But
CP's in the comments, bro. He says LeBron doesn't want to be anywhere other than LA. That's why he signed that extension. The Bulls roster
mhm.
wouldn't get him winning position in the East, right? Now you're right, and
What?
same thing in the
Yep.
West too. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword where LeBron's just going to be stuck. But at least in the East, it will be a little bit more of an opportunity to compete in the
Mhm.
playoffs than what it is for the Lakers. And even though the Lakers, as of late, they have been playing good basketball and stuff like that, they still have an uphill battle to climb um, because of how slow of a start they had to this NBA season.
Yep.
Obviously, they're not that far behind. I'm trying to look up the schedule, but I know they were like an
Mhm.
11th or 10th, but they were like 2 or 3 games behind the 10th spot
Oh,
in the West.
the Lakers?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm trying to look. I was looking it up
Yeah.
too right now too before doing the trades, and it's kind of like, and it just slipped my mind.
That they're kind of up. I mean, they're on the cusp of it. And I mean, to come to the East to the Bulls team, and we're talking about it like it's even a possibility. But
Like if it's a
I just think
possibility,
it's so
right?
funny. Yeah,
But that's the thing. It just brings up the conversation
yeah.
of yeah. So they are actually a game behind
Oh wow,
the tenth spot, behind a game behind Oklahoma, a game behind the Golden State Warriors, and a game behind the surprising Utah Jazz for that final 10th and even ninth spot, because Utah's ninth, Golden State is 10th. So
Jesus. So they're still there. They're on the cusp. They're just outside of the playoff race right now. It's at least a play-in game, right? So
right.
they're there. LeBron, I think, is his time with the Lakers, other than the COVID year when they won it all. Yeah, it's just kind of been downhill. And CP saying now the West is a mess right now. I'd rather deal with Denver and Memphis than Milwaukee, Philly, Boston. You got a point, because Denver, man, Memphis is so good too. Denver and Memphis are really, really good. Jokic and Morant there. But you're right. I mean, would you rather try to go up against Morant or Jokic, or Giannis, Embiid, what's his name from Boston?
Tatum,
Jason Tatum. Like
Jaylen Brown.
those guys are so good in
No,
the
you're
East.
absolutely right. And as much as we think, and I think we always view the West as the powerhouse, right? Like
Yeah,
you think about
yeah,
it, like, damn, you got Golden State, damn, you have the Phoenix Suns, hell, you have the Los Angeles Lakers, and then you have your teams like the Pelicans every once in a while when AD was there. Obviously
yep,
now with Denver Nuggets and the Memphis Grizzlies, you still have that. You have those teams still going on. I'm missing one team. Why don't the Dallas Mavericks and Luca,
Mavericks, yeah,
right? But GP's absolutely right. Like back then, the East was an easier road to get to the finals, or at least to the
yep,
Eastern Conference Finals. Now that has shifted to where the West is kind of now a little bit more eased up. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, even though you have the Denver Nuggets, who's in first place, I
mm-hmm.
mean, if you were, I mean, would you feel more comfortable facing, the Denver Nuggets, who's the number one seed, or would you feel more comfortable playing, the Boston Celtics, who are the number one seed?
Exactly, and you're right. The West just seems like the easier way, and it seems like the East the shift of powers has happened. And I don't know, maybe I'm just forgetting, but the last time the East has been this good for this long was probably back like towards the end of D Rose, Noah, that
Yeah.
era, when that was a really, really good conference. Like
Right, because you had the Boston Celtics at that time. You had the Miami
LeBron
Heat
and
with LeBron James and D
yeah,
Wade. Obviously,
even
the Bulls;
Cleveland at
those were
that
your number
time.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been a while since the East has been this good, but focusing back on the Bulls here, you said blow it up. You got it there in the back. Realistically, I know what you want to happen. Realistically, though, can we expect the blow up? Can we expect DeMar walking, like saying, hey, like Reinsdorf saying, see ya, DeMar, see ya, Vooch, maybe see ya, Io, Dosunmu, all these guys that after this year are no longer on their contract. Do you see something like that happening, or is it just more of like let's re-sign Io for cheap, maybe, and let's I don't know, give the extension to DeMar, something like that, something that makes them mediocre, I would say, consistently for the next couple of years.
You got to know this, Rick, right? And the one thing that Jack has always said is the Reinsdorf ran organization, and you just look what happened to
Yep.
the White Sox on the South Side here, right?
Yep.
The hype that they got him for the last 3 years. Obviously, they were the best team for 60 games in COVID, right? They were the favorites coming out of the American League after COVID, and they just literally had the bottom just fell off of them. They lost Tony La Russa and all that, everything that has happened because they stayed complacent, right? To
Yep.
me, the one thing in the NBA is like if you don't have that superstar and you stay complacent, you're not going anywhere. And I feel like that's the Chicago Bulls. They're not going anywhere. With all that being said, I could kind of see this year going and the trade deadline going and passing the Chicago Bulls. I don't think they have. I mean, it may be different with AK and Mark Eversley. It may be completely different. I do not know 100%, right? I mean, you just gave a player that you may trade $200+ million to stay with the entire team, to stay with the team, and you're gonna give them and so it's kind of like they're in this situation where I mean, like, damn if you do trade him, damn if you don't, because at the end of the day, you're going to be stuck in mediocrity in both ways, no matter what, with
Hmm.
less players, with less talented players. But I think the one thing that would help them keep this whole entire thing is that they have the best record against against teams above 500. And if you have a
Yeah.
chance in the playoffs, and that's what we always say in the JCA Sports Podcast, and even here, like if you're in the playoffs, you have a chance. And I think now it's a better chance to where the Chicago Bulls may make that noise and may squeak into the playoffs, um, and coming into that playing game simply because and actually have a series because
Yeah.
they've proven it so far this year that they can beat the better teams.
I didn't think I'd see this side of you, Eric, actually on the hopeful positive side for the Bulls. I thought it was just going to be like, blow it the fuck up. Let's get
No,
out of
I
here.
mean I'm still in that group to blow it up. I'm still in that group. I want it to happen simply
Yeah.
because the one thing that so far this regime hasn't done is actually start a rebuild from the studs, like how my basement is nothing but studs up and a few drywall pieces. But that's the one thing they haven't done. They just kind of they kind of put like wallpaper over dead spots in the
Mhm.
walls of the previous regime. That's what basically AK and Eversley just did with this team, and it worked for a bit. But you could kind of start seeing the wallpaper kind of peeling off a little bit
Yeah.
of what has happened. But I just don't see it. Like I don't, as much as I want to, I don't see it.
Mhm.
Like me being realistic, me being the
Mhm.
realist, I don't see them blowing it up simply because it's Reinsdorf and the Chicago Bulls. What I
Yeah.
want is not going to happen. So I might as well just face reality and accept it that that's what's going to happen.
And just hope for the best because it's
Yeah, for
true, man.
real.
When AK and Mark Eversley came in and they were making all these moves right at their first trade deadline, I was like, that's it. It's a new page. It's turning. We got
Correct.
Vooch. We got this guy who was an all-star in Orlando. We brought in DeMar. And I mean DeMar at the time, it was kind of looked at like a dumb move. And I mean, it's worked out, right? Because he's been really good these last couple of years. But it's like we brought in Lonzo, we brought in Caruso, and then the season started and they were looking hot. Like we said, they were number one. They were undefeated for 9 games or something like that, right? They were
They
9 and
were
0.
something crazy like that, or they
Yeah,
won like 10 out of their first 12 games or something like that.
it was insane. And we were just like, yes, this is exactly what we wanted. This is going to start a new page. But that window is as quickly as it opened, it shut almost immediately,
Quick.
like quick. Yeah. So I have a lot of faith in AK and Mark Eversley, but I just again with the Reinsdorf thing, the money thing, they gave Zach a bunch of money, which he doesn't usually do. But I don't know, man. It's starting to kind of like you said, the wallpaper starting to come off, and you're really starting to see that there really is no plan going forward. It's just more like let's try to stay as relevant as possible, like we were last year, and move forward and see if we can attract a couple stars. Because, like you said, if you don't have that one superstar, in this case, it's supposed to be Zach. If you don't have that one guy like a Giannis, like a LeBron, a Trey, a KD, someone like that,
Hell,
you aren't.
I'll even give you a Damian Lillard at
Yeah,
that point too as well.
even
Something.
Dame, yeah, even Dame. Like you don't have anything moving forward. It's going to be a tough go. Because these guys could just turn it on and score 10, 12 points in the fourth quarter to get their team over the hump for that win, for that series win, to get them to the championship, something like that. And really, the only thing I can think of that the Bulls have going for them is hopefully Zach after this year or later on in this, towards the end of this year, if they make it to the playoffs, can turn it on. He can flip that switch in the fourth quarter or something like that. Or they got Patrick Williams to actually develop into what they're hoping he can be in the future.
Honestly, I'm mainly leaning more on the second one than the first one because I think we've seen the ceiling of Zach Levine. I think
Yeah.
this is his peak. This is what Zach Levine is. I don't think there's an extra gear. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's an extra like what we saw last year was what we normally see in almost every sport that they're on their contract year and they ball out and then they get paid, and then they disappeared
Yeah.
because they got paid.
Yeah. The only shitty thing would be is if like we did trade him and like Chicago was happy and just kind of like what happened with Laurie Markkinen and all these other guys, they just ball out somewhere else.
And it's possible too. Laurie
Yeah.
Markkinen and Bobby Portis is another one.
Portis.
That that did that. But it also depends on the situation that they go to, right? It depends on where
Yeah.
they trade him. So it's like, yes, he may be happy out of our books. We got picks, we got future, we have this, and that. But it also just depends. Is he going to be the main star in that team? Is he going to be the 1A or maybe even the 2A? Like he's the third
Mm-hmm.
option on that team. There's no he's not the number one. He's
Mm-hmm.
easily number two, and sometimes even number three. And if he's in that situation, Zach LaVine is going to look like the Zach LaVine that we thought he was going to be here because he's behind people that could carry him there. He's just that
Yeah.
extra guy that will help him to get those extra 15 to 20 points.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Vooch, right? We picked him up from Orlando where he was option number one, came here, and don't get me wrong, he's getting double doubles almost every game, but I mean he's not the number one option anymore. He only
No,
breaks out
definitely
for
not.
like
Hell no, he's not.
no, he only breaks out for more than 20 every once in a while, like every 6 games, 7 games, something like that. But let us know in the comments what you think about what the Bulls should do, if you guys are hopeful or if you guys are just like, yeah, we're going to be pretty mediocre for the rest of for the foreseeable future. As we shift over to Hawks talk, I want to thank you guys for joining us here on Big League Chicago, whether you're watching or listening. We appreciate you guys joining us. Brought to you by Star 6 Media. Let's move into Hawks talk. Jack isn't here, but he gave me some notes. All right, and I'm going to read them as well as possible. And Eric, this is always fun. Eric has to come up with one question for hockey talk.
Oh, I have it. I have it all right.
It.
I got it.
So the Blackhawks, 14, 27, and 4. They are the last in the Central, third worst in the NHL. Only the two worst teams in front of them are the Anaheim Ducks and Columbus Blue Jackets in the chase for Bedard. The 6, they have found their groove in January, to Jack's very much disappointment. Seth Jones has become the only All-Star for the Blackhawks for his 5th appearance in the All-Star game. They beat the Stanley Cup champions Colorado Avs at home 3-2. They came back in the third period to defeat the Sabres 4-3 in OT. And Seth Jones with 2 goals and the game-winning goal in that game. That's why he's an all-star, folks. They defeated the Flyers in Philly for the first time since '96. Since '96, that was the first time they beat Philly, snapping one of the league's longest home winning streaks versus one opponent, which is insane. But you'd think that first Stanley Cup in 2010 would have counted to break the streak. I
think that's regular season is what
it's just regular
because
season.
I was thinking about the same thing too. I'm like, no, I think
right?
It's regular season.
Yeah, it had to be regular season. They did lose to the Kings at home 2-1, and the latest road trip, they're going to be headed to British Columbia and Alberta for matchups with the Canucks and a decent Flames team is what Jack put in here. But Jack wanted me to stress. He wanted me to stress they need to stop fucking winning because he wants Bedard. He wants the number 1 pick, or at least a better chance for the number 1 pick to get Bedard. But that's kind of what Jack gave me as far as Hawks talk notes. Eric, what's the question you got here?
Why are we tripping about the Hawks winning if that's kind of what a whole franchise needs is to win? Isn't it a good thing that they have players that can perform and get some W's and no matter who you bring in, it kind of like, okay, we have pieces here. Isn't that what any team wants? Like, okay, we found the pieces and then they're winning. It's a good thing. Why is this? Why? Just because we have to suck hard for Bedard? We have to suck off Bedard or whatever it is? It's just why? They're winning. Let them win. It's that mid-season form where everybody finds, they're like that blind squirrel that could find a nut or two, literally, and just let them win some games. We still have February, March, April, and I think it finishes in May. Like let them win. That way, you know you have pieces around. Why are you getting so mad?
And I mean, the biggest thing too is like they want Bedard, but I forget the other guy's name. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago. I asked him, like, the number 2 guy doesn't seem too bad. And he's like, yeah, he's not bad either. But Bedard seems to be like the next coming of like Gretzky or like oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Like one of the best players in the NHL right now.
Isn't it McDavid, Connor McDavid, or something like that?
Connor McDavid. Yeah, he's like the next coming of Connor McDavid, something like that. See, Eric's got it. Eric's got it, Jack. If you're
things, man. Damn, the next Sidney Crosby since he's Canadian.
See, there you go. See?
Bonus points, man.
Eric, 3 for 3 right now. Better than the Bulls shooting so far tonight. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's just the Bedard hype right now that they want to get someone like that and build around him, because I would assume if you get a number 1 guy like that, you got Seth Jones, who, like Jack was saying, has his 5th All-Star appearance already. He's a veteran on the team that can be like, and he's going to be on the team for a really long time. He could be like, hey, welcome to the team, blah, blah, blah. And then they just start building off each other, building relationships. And then it starts getting into the Kane and Tays ways of like, we're contending for championships at this point.
Yeah, and I guess that's what it needs. I guess we need another hard reset on another Chicago team here for us to have some type of success, down the near future. And I understand that, right? But again, at the same time, let them enjoy some wins, because the wins are not going to come around that often for the Blackhawks later on in the season, And if they do, cool, at least you have something to build there. And hell, you might be lucky, and you might suck off Bernard hard and just get him good, man. That's all.
Bedard is hard. Time to suck him off.
There's so many ways I can go with that, but I'm just trying to be as professional as possible.
Professional faces, all right. We got to get the suits and ties on, all right. Professional. Suck hard, Bedard.
Suck hard for Bedard.
Suck hard for Bedard. But even CP's over here in the comments, they beat the Blues. That was a shocker. And I mean, it's true. Like St. Louis is a good team. St. Louis is a good team.
I mean, hey man, let them get their few wins this early in the season. I mean, it's still early. We still have 3 months left of hockey. It's cool. It's gonna be all right.
It's cool.
Let them relax. Enjoy the ride while you have it, and then after that, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, cool. They lost. All right, they're losing. That's the conversation we're gonna have for the rest of the. Right now, just be excited that they're winning, and yes, but I mean, I get it, but be excited.
And I think other than that, just like getting those wins every once in a while, the only other thing to kind of get excited for is that Kane and Tays probably gone by the end of February. By the end of that trade deadline, you guys are probably seeing the last few games with Kane and Tays with the Blackhawks sweater on.
Yeah, I know, and possibly together on the ice too as well.
Yeah,
I know they haven't been playing on the same line for the last couple of weeks, but even then, so yeah, it's slowly but surely that dynasty started to die. And the fact of the matter was that they couldn't find that replacement for Mary Hossa. Mary Hossa going down really hurted the Blackhawks to have their chances to even make it far. There was still hope. There were still some chances, but they couldn't. And when they found it in Brandon Saad, it wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. And then the salary cap, man, the salary cap, just it being so hard and so tight. Obviously, if you're going to give those 2 guys that amount of money, you have to. It's like you have to strike lightning in a bottle with a few good players around them and just go along for the ride. It's going to be hard. And CP is right. He said, I can't imagine them in another sweater jersey. Yeah, which is true. Like, and it's hard to envision anybody else in another. It's like Scotty with the Portland Trailblazers or Michael with the Wizards. You know what I mean? D Rose when he went to where did he go first after he got traded?
Cavaliers?
The New York? I think it was New York.
Was it New York? Or was it the Cavaliers?
I don't know. But even then, so like it's weird to seeing your players that you loved and you admired. It's like it's like me with Chris Bryant in San Francisco or Riz to the Yankees. That one hit hard for me right there. It's like you're right. You couldn't envision them anywhere else, and you're gonna have to, because together within the last 8 years, 9 years, haven't really done anything after that. So it's kind of like.
It is. It's tough. And you'd mentioned the salary cap too. I was like, I didn't realize how small that salary cap is. Like, we're talking about baseball players over here, or even football players making $20 million a year. These guys are making like 5 million, maybe at
Yeah, at the
most.
most.
And you're talking about like a top tier player making 5 million.
And I think on both Taze and Kane, I think they flirt with 10 mil.
Oh,
So if you
really?
talk, yeah, I think I say flirt. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
They're up there like an 8 or 9, but I know they're up there now, or they
Yeah.
were up there. Now I don't know where it is. But you're right. The salary cap is just really, really tight and really, really hard. And for you to build to keep your star players like that and pay them, and the Chicago had both. Hell, they even had
Yeah.
Duncan Keith for a while too.
Yep.
It's like for you to have all of them. I mean, you lost Crawford, you lost Anthony Emmy, you lost obviously because of injury, you lost Marion Hossa, but you couldn't replace them. You know,
Yeah.
you lost a Shaw, you lost all these players that helped you win these championship teams because of that salary cap. Because it's like you rather have them or you rather have, at that time Jonathan Tays, who was probably the top 5, top 10 players in the NHL, and Patrick Kane, who's top 5 player in the NHL. It's like,
Yep.
you have to give them that money, and yeah, it was just hard for the Hawks to keep that dynasty together.
Yeah, and I mean Stan Bowman made a lot of terrible trades too. I mean, I think he traded away Teravainen, Panarin.
Hurt. I mean, the first time they traded away Brandon Saad was a
Yeah.
terrible one too as well.
Yeah, a lot of young guys with a lot of potential that could have continued this dynasty, could have extended the window really for Stanley Cups, and he just kind of fucked it up because once he traded away Panarin, Kane was like, "Oh, okay, cool, thanks. That was my guy. Appreciate that."
Right.
So,
but I mean, decisions like that had to be made because, again, they were coming up with their contract year within a year or two, and it's kind of like, okay, like, where are we number wise? And sometimes the numbers don't even match up. So we like, all right, if I'm paying these 2 guys, I'm not going to let these 2 guys. I'm not letting these 3 guys go because my salary cap is going to be tight. This is what I can give you and offer you, and it's just kind of like, okay, I rather lose you and get something than lose you and not get anything at all. And I know Bowman was stuck in a hard place, but I mean, you had to do what was right and give those guys a contract, and by doing that, you sacrificed a window of winning multiple championships after 20. What was it? What was the last time? 2015.
2015. Yeah.
They could
have dominated the teens. They could have had maybe 1 or 2 more.
Really
that would have been insane.
They could have had 2 more in this. I mean, the Game 7 loss against the Kings that one year, and
was it 2016? No,
I think that was 20. I think that was 2016 or 17.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then after that, I think that you just kind of saw that because after that, Marion Hossa just couldn't be healthy. Tays couldn't stay healthy anymore. It was up to Patrick Kane, but Patrick Kane, him being so small and I mean agile, but him being small the way it is, and it took him out of the games a lot more quicker. And there was nobody else to step up for them. So
nope.
Man, you see, Jack would have been really proud of me right now if he was on listening to me the way how I'm talking right now, man.
I was gonna say this segment I thought was gonna be like 5 minutes or into like 10, 15 minutes there. I kind of like it. I kind of like where we're going. See, Jack, we can talk hockey. We can talk hockey, especially Eric going like
especially me. I know what I'm talking about. I just choose not to and be an idiot.
He just waits for the regular season, which is the postseason.
Exactly. I really do. I really do wait for the regular season. Look, I could have that conversation all day, any day, as long as I want. And that's fine by me. I can care less, right? But it's true, man. It's like we play. Like, to me, this is still preseason for watching NBA basketball. Like, it's just we watching 82 games just for them to go into the playoffs where it actually matters.
True. Jack would disagree. Even CP saying, shout out to Jack, miss you, boy. So
I miss CP. I miss Jack. I don't miss the other 2. Listen, if Jack and CP would have hopped on right now instead of John and Jose, I would be happy. This podcast would have just automatically been great.
You don't want Tony Football on here? You don't want Tony Football on here?
Hell no, I don't want Jose in this. Nope. Love the guy. I do. But shout out to him. He did call every single game this past weekend, though. Like, I'll give him that.
He did. Us Talking Hockey is a great plug for Slot Shot, the hockey podcast. So go check that out if you guys want some more hockey talk around the NHL outside of the Blackhawks. But let's move on to our next segment. We are talking Bears breakdown. And I mean, nothing really happening with the Bears. Obviously, the playoffs are going on, but I just kind of want to talk a little bit about Kevin Warren, hired as president, CEO. I think he's like the 5th ever president in Bears history and might be the first president in Bears history that is actually a football guy. So who might have actually had experience in football. But just wanted to talk about that.
I'll give you that one. That's true. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely, dude. Right. This guy's got 21 years experience in the NFL.
No, yeah,
Like,
and not only that, like his credentials just speak to himself. Like this guy has enough on a resume to have three people have that resume. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he played in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl. He ran a couple of NFL organizations. He built the stadium. Hell, he's the commissioner of the Big Ten You know, he brought in revenue into the Big Ten to where they are today.
those big
He
media
brought in
rights
teams
too.
from the Pac-12 and brought them into the big. Like this guy just has like the resume of like five very highly important people in many different categories, right? And Kevin Warren, I think you're right. First time outside that they didn't hire that's not a McCaskey and that wasn't in the Bears organizations at all, right?
Thank God.
Like you just said, first football person ever that the Bears have hired, right? First black person that the Bears have hired in that position. First, like you, the list goes on and on. In the very first, and to kind of think about it though, and put it in this perspective, it's kind of sad that now that the Bears are finally getting into this whole diversity thing because it's been so long that you know they gotten away from that, or maybe because they were too blindsided, or I'm not going where I'm about to say right now, but let's
They're
just say
racist.
Right. they just had their blinders on, and just maybe they were just behind the times, like how they're behind the times right now in the NFL and stuff like that. And the Bears, for once, I think the optimism in me. I'm not trying to say I'm like the most optimistic person out of the group, right? Between us three and then out of everybody else here in Star Six Media. But I like to see like on the bright side of the things most of the time, right? When the realism actually starts hitting and just being me more optimistic about it. Man, this time, man, I've heard every single word of that press conference. I put on the news conference. I put on my headphones. I listened to that news conference. I listened to it again when I got home on YouTube, and everything that this man said just excited me.
Yeah.
Thinking that the Bears could win the Super Bowl in the next 3 years.
Really?
I'm calling it right now.
The excitement is real.
I see it. I feel it. I believe it. I do want to say that the Bears will win multiple Super Bowls within the next couple years under Kevin Warren. I think the last one will be here for Chicago, like the last parting gift farewell. Because the one thing that surprised me and that kept me happy and just excited is that the first thing he said with Vindiction was the stadium is the number one priority.
Yep.
The moment he said that, I'm like, bro, you got me.
Yeah.
You got me. Because he also built what people are saying in the NFL, the best stadium in the NFL. And what is it, Bank of America or whatever it's called, the stadium in Minnesota.
Yeah. In the Vikings one,
He had this stadium built from the ground up. He said he wasn't going to talk about it because he doesn't know anything about it. He said he's probably going to talk about it in 6 months. Hey, do you know what's in 6 months, Rick? Do you want to know what's in 6 months?
That's when they get the deal on Arlington, right?
No, sir. Training camp.
Okay.
Training camp is there right around the corner. You know, and Kevin Warren pops up. All right, Kevin, you said this in your press conference. It's been 6 months. What can you tell us?
Yep.
And then that's when we're all going to sit down. We're just going to be like, all eyes and ears on the TV or on the radio. You know, we're going to stop what we're doing.
Gather around,
trying to get fired. Maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
And we're just going to be watching because this man, where he's going to say, it's either going to be disappointing, which is going to freaking suck, or it's going to be like, hell yeah, guess what? The Bears are going to have another top-notch stadium. It's going to blow off Minnesota. It's going to blow off Los Angeles, which is the new recent one. And we are just going to be just oogly excited and depending what they do.
Yeah. And that was the thing that got me too, was how his first thing that he said was talking about the stadium. And I love Soldier Field. I love that it's on the lake. I love that it looks cool. The way getting there and getting out, biggest pain in the ass probably ever.
That's true.
Like the location looks phenomenal. From outside, if you're looking at it from like a drone shot or something, you're like, man, that's a dope ass stadium. Getting there, getting out, being there in December, January, it sucks. It sucks. So
not even that, dude. I've been to a lot of Mexico games at Soldier
in
Field,
Soldier,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so obviously my first Bears experience was last season, my very
Okay.
first Bears game, right? But I took public transportation. I took the
Yeah.
South Shore line that's closer to my house, and it dropped me off kind of like a few blocks away from Soldier Field. I did not drive because even the parking sucks. But I digress from that conversation. The stadium, it's you. I mean, look, I don't know. You probably drive around like, oh, that's so cool, blah blah blah. Me being here in Chicago and seeing it plenty of times and being in there and stuff, it's shit, bro. It's not all that great. You're right. It has a great view on the overshot if you're talking about a drone or a plane with the skyline in the background and the lake over here and then the stadium how it looks, and it looks pretty badass, right? From thousands of feet above the air, hundreds of feet above the air. When you're up there up close and personal,
trash.
I'm sorry, it looks like a toilet bowl inside of that. Like a lot of people have different. I see it as a toilet bowl inside of the stadium. It just looked like it had walls, and then it's just kind of like, okay, the toilet boy's gonna be here so it could secure the shit that's gonna be played inside the field, which has been true in the last couple of years, and that's basically how I see Soldier Field. Granted, it's exciting to walk in. You see it. You see Walter Payton on one side. You see Papa Bear on the other side, and the statues when you come off the south entrance and stuff like that going in there. And walking around, it's pretty dope, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. It just doesn't do it for me, man. It just looks crappy.
And on top of that, it's one of the smallest in the league. It's not domed, which I mean, sure, you could say bear weather, but I mean, look how that helped the Bills out on Sunday. Oh, that's Bills weather. Well, they lost. They only scored 10 points while the Bengals scored 27. So what, you know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily like it helps or anything. It's one of the smallest in the NFL. You just said it. It's kind of just a shithole in there. It again, like people who drive there, it's a pain in the ass. And look, there's maybe like outside of the Bears, there's maybe like 3 or 4 other teams who have their stadiums actually downtown area, closest to the city,
close
like Pittsburgh, Detroit.
One of them.
Yeah, Minnesota. Like there's a couple of them that I could name off the cuff, but I mean, Arlington Heights is 40 minutes outside of Chicago. And when you think of what the plan is for Arlington Heights, dude, it's just so much better. It is a much better experience. Sure, you can. It could possibly be something like Wrigley is now. You know, a lot of people don't like Wrigley anymore. I still love Wrigley no matter what, but I mean, it has turned into like that retail shopping corporate, you know, like that shit, and it kind of takes away from Wrigley, right? Because I would love going to Taco Bell or McDonald's right after games. They're drunk off my ass, right? It was a great experience. It was a great experience.
Oh, come on, man. Not McDonald's or Taco Bell. You can at least set across the street a Cubby Bear at least.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously. You go to Moe's, you got Cubby Bear, you got well, I forgot what the other bars were there. But like you're drunk off your ass off $10 beers, and you're like, I need a Gordita Crunch right now, baby boy. That's what I need right now. Oh man. But it gets into that more corporate side. But I think the overall experience is going to be better. The parking is going to be better. The stadium will be better. It'll be temperature controlled. So not, you know, in the middle of December, you're not freezing your ass off and you're like, okay, I can actually sit comfortably, watch the Bears game, drink a beer, eat a hot dog, whatever it is, right? Like it just seems to be more geared towards people coming in and having a good time versus how the fuck am I supposed to get out of this parking lot at the end of this game, you know?
And then you missed the most important thing too about Arlington Heights too, is that track is right off the expressway. It's like legit right there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it helps out that too as well, right? And there's multiple ways to get out too as well because there's like multiple exits from Arlington Heights. I think you just got to drive 2 or 3 minutes west to get off the next exit for Arlington Heights on that part. If I'm correct, I may be wrong.
And that's like 320 acres
exactly
of property. Like
and
all
this so much.
Yeah, and the plan is to already do so much too, right? Like hotels, shopping, and again, it's more of that commercial type of stuff, but it's also like We need to get out of the city, man. Like it needs to get out of the city at this point because you want a dome. You want those things that a lot of other teams have nowadays too.
I mean, it can be. Look, mm, I've tried to find ways to defend Chicago, right?
Same.
For Chicago to keep the Bears in Soldier Field, right? I try
Yeah.
to find a way, but there's uh multiple blockades for that to happen. First things first, like the Bears don't own it; they lease it.
Yeah. Big
It's
thing
by the
right
park
there.
district. So
Yep.
the Bears only get a certain percentage, and the percentage is not even 70%. I think they get like 67, 60, something like in the mid 60s, mid to high
Yep.
60s of the revenue share that they get from game days. Mind you, they only have 8 games out of the year, sometimes 9 now with the extra game. So that's an extra percentage that you don't really have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything else goes to the city of Chicago. They can't. The reason why they build the toilet bowl inside of Soldier Field is because Soldier Field is a historical landmark. Same thing
Yeah.
like Wrigley. Wrigley, they couldn't build the outside. They only did whatever they could on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, that's why the whole lawsuit with the bleachers or with the
Yep. The
rooftops happened
apartments.
because of the
Yeah.
scoreboards. Because you
Mm-hmm.
have to build on the inside. So that's why they couldn't build anything on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that the parking space, like you said, go and park in there, and you have to share with the 3 museums that are around there: the shed, the field, and the planetarium. And that's an
Yeah.
additional parking that you have to go on site. So technically, like there are more cons than pros for the Bears to move
Mm-hmm.
away from. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
more pros and cons for the Bears to stay in Soldier Field than to leave in Arlington Heights because, like you said, it's a 300 plus acre massive land. Like you could do
Yeah.
whatever you want. You
Yeah.
hotels, you can build the stadium, you could build hell, you can even build a heated parking lot for all the fans that go right in there and stuff like that. Like there's
Yeah.
many different ways that you could do it for this stadium. And I think that's why too, like the Bears need to get up. Oh, and by the way, the percentage for the revenue will be so much higher than what it
Oh
is
yeah.
in Chicago if they stay in Chicago too as well. And plus, whatever the taxpayers can get from Arlington Heights and whatever
Mm-hmm.
percentage goes to the city of Arlington,
Mm-hmm.
it's just mainly more of a win-win situation for the Chicago Bears on the money
And
side and the overall fan experience.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. The fans will pay for shit like that for a heated parking lot. You're telling me in
I would
December,
too.
absolutely I'll pay my taxes for that stuff. And hopefully a winning Bears team. I say hopefully because I've got a lot of hope in this team, but hopefully a winning Bears team, you will drive 45 to an hour to go to Arlington to take in that experience. And if it's not necessarily like you have to be at the game, if there's bars, restaurants, you're in that atmosphere, you're
Yeah.
hanging out at a restaurant, you're watching it. It's just going to be a good time.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be outside, inside. You just put Hard Rock Cafe or Harry Carey's or Dick's restaurant inside that store
Yeah.
or inside that there's you find different ways to keep it in there. And then if you don't like it, if you go outside, guess what? In walking distance, you have this place, you have that place, you have
Yep.
that place that's there. And it's just you have acres and mounts, acres of land that you can do whatever you want to, and it just makes the experience so just more exciting
Mm-hmm.
overall. And obviously, not only that, you have fun for appearances, you can have concerts, you can have whatever you want to do to that stadium and host hell, even Super Bowls, right? You
Yeah.
could host a Super Bowl in that case too as well. Like you can do so many different everything else just goes straight to the and that's what there's need something that can have cash out and revenue from it and just have it keep it on their side.
Yeah, for sure. And even CP agrees with you. He's saying, I get a sense of despair walking into Soldier Field like I'm ready to lose.
Bro, for real, man. Like I get more exciting. I get more excited going. No, actually, I'm lying. I can't really say that, right?
Yeah.
Because I've only been to Soldier Field one and done for the Bears game, and that was probably, and I was just excited.
Mm,
But again, like the many times that I've been to Soldier Field, I have watched Mexico played, I watched America
mm,
played, I watched Barcelona Chivas play there. I've watched hell. I even stepped on the field one time,
nice.
and it just, I don't know, man. Just look how it looks. I feel like they really did a lot for like nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of the seats, unless if they're like in far high 400 levels, like almost every seat in Soldier Field is not that bad, unless if you hit like anything above 420 is just pretty bad.
Nice.
What do you say? I love when Eric goes off with these predictions, guy.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like when you were talking about multiple Super Bowl CPs. Like I love when he goes off with these predictions.
Hey, man. I mean, it's what he made me feel, right? Like he just
Yeah.
made me feel like those Super Bowls coming for the Chicago Bears sooner or later. And it just depends on Ryan Bowles on what he does, man. And I could just sense it, you know. Like I feel like the Bears are like 2 or 3 years away making the run, and that'll be the last title they'll have in Chicago. And still go tonight. Once they go around tonight, that's like 2 years after that. They'll probably another one.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, that would be awesome, and I'd love for something like that to happen because kind of like what CP's saying here. What impressed me is that Kevin didn't read anything off a piece of paper during his introductory speech. Real authentic, something the Bears haven't had in the front office in years. And it's true, man. You think of Ted Phillips and you just think he was like a suit, right? Like he's just a guy with a suit on, and that's about it. You know, again, we said football guy, not necessarily a football guy. So it's just something that he said has been very impressed. He's been very impressed by. And I think that's something as Bears fans we can appreciate too. But man, I just, like you said, I have that hope as well, that we can get multiple Super Bowls, that we can be a team in the future that free agents will want to come to, because we have a Justin Fields. We've got hopefully, sometime soon, a very good defense, just an overall good team, right? That's kind of what you want for the Bears. That's kind of what you want with a new stadium, with this developmental thing, new hires. Talked about the diversity thing. I love that they hired this guy Kevin, Justin Fields. You got Poles, all these guys. So that's just, again, that's kind of what you're hoping for. And as a Bears fan, again, all the hope is in that we can be that great in this decade, really, in the next decade, even if we only win one or two. I mean, I haven't seen a Super Bowl in my lifetime. That'd be awesome to see.
Me neither. I mean, I've seen a Super Bowl, right? I think we all.
I mean,
Super Bowl.
True.
But we haven't seen them winning one.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I know I'm going down on the limb, right? And I know we're talking about hypotheticals here, and we're going off limbs of future passes, right? Like, and I can guarantee you this, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly do feel like if this Bears team wins, and it should go without saying, right? If they win a Super Bowl within the next 3 years, like if I predicted, right, they will eclipse that 2016, the 2016 Chicago Cubs. And how many amount of people are going to show up to this parade?
Oh,
because with the Cubs, like, you got to remember, put everything in perspective, right? Let's just put it in a big perspective bubble, right? Mm-hmm. The Cubs haven't won a World Series in 100 years, right? Yep. And the year that they won to the World Series in 2016, like we had that expectations, right? And I think the feelings came even more along when they were down 3-1. They had to win 4 games in a row. They did that, right? I was there at the parade when the Cubs won. I had to go, right?
Yeah.
I had to go. And then when I tell you it was like booty hole pack, it was packed. Like, it was just, we were just like to each other, right? And then for some reason, and this is just us walking to the front to get up close and personal to the bus to watch the thing. We even walked all the way to Grand Park. Like I even saw it from afar. Like I did the whole experience when the Cubs won the World Series, right?
Yeah.
I think it would be even worse with the amount of people that are going to be there if the Bears end up winning the Super Bowl here in Chicago. Like they have to go through like multiple, downtown areas, like going to West Chicago to the West Loop and coming back around, and because there's going to be so many people, not even just here in Chicago, but all over the country to come see the Bears. Just to be the Bears parade and just that's why I feel like it's going to, and it should go said without being done, right? Like, and remember, I think it was like 1 point something million people.
Yeah.
During the parade for the Chicago Cubs. I think the Bears would just blow that amount out of the water, and we're just gonna have a bunch of people here. Like, I think it would probably be like almost close to like 2 million people in downtown Chicago to watch the Bears parade and the Super Bowl win.
And that's not and that's not necessarily like out of the realm of possibility, because the Cubs, you have the Cubs and the Sox. The city's split for baseball. The city comes together and unites for basketball, hockey, and football especially. So I can absolutely see the entire city of Chicago
Yeah.
come together for that parade. Now the question is, do they win it while they're still at Soldier Field, or do they win it if they're in Arlington?
All right, so the Bears still have the Bears. The earliest they can get out of the contract for Chicago for Soldier Field is as early as 2028, I believe.
I thought it was 20. Was it 26 or 28? I forget.
It's 28. It's not
28.
26.
Okay.
It's 28.
Okay.
Right. So that's the earliest they can get out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It took Minnesota Stadium about 5 years to build. I think it took 6 to build the one right here in SoFi in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So if we're really, really realistically thinking about the Bears and moving into Arlington Heights and doing all that, the Bears lease is up in 2032. So if they start building it now, it'll be 2029, 2030 at the latest.
Mm-hmm.
There's just very minute things that the Bears need to do for it to happen. But the Bears will be here up until that lease is over.
So they win it.
To answer your question, I think the Bears will win one while they're still here in Chicago.
Man, that'd be fucking awesome. Talk about
that'd be dope. Like,
talk about trying to get out of there at that point. You got 2 million people.
I was in Wrigley when the Cubs won. Okay.
Yeah.
No, lie. I wasn't. Not Game 7. I'm lying. It was Game 5. Game 5 or Game 6 is where I went. Okay, I lied. But that's not the point. The point is, I was at the parade in downtown for when they had it, and I didn't want to miss it for the world.
Yeah, I was in when they won it. I went from Forest Park, took the blue line. I'm sorry. We switched from the blue line over to the green line over to the red line. Went down to Wrigley, Game 7 after they won it. Me and my buddy, and we just it was packed. Like, there was people all over Wrigley, down Clark, down Addison. It was insane what happened. So I can only imagine an actual parade and how insane that was.
I drove. And I got lucky enough to get parking when I was going to Illinois Media School. I found parking where we normally park to get it validated and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
I got lucky for that one. Yeah, and it wasn't that far either.
Nice. Love to hear. Well, there's nothing but hope coming for the Bears with Kevin Warren as new president and CEO. Let's hope. Yeah, there you go. There's Eric's,
3.
There's Eric's prediction right there. 3 with Justin Fields at quarterback, not Lamar Jackson. So
I mean, hey, either or it would be fine with me. It doesn't really matter.
Hey, the Bears winning a Super Bowl, that's literally all I care about.
Me too. Yeah.
So let's move on to some crosstown convo here, talking Cubs and Sox. We'll get the Sox stuff out of the way first, but we're in the offseason right now, free agency. A lot of the stuff has calmed down as far as free agency, but let's kind of go over what's going on before the spring training and all that pitchers and catchers report, all that stuff happens. So for the White Sox, again, Jack gave me some notes. So thanks. Shout out, Jack. Thank you. Unfortunately, for the closer for the Sox, Liam Hendriks was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in January. So he was going to be beginning treatment early. And I think Trey Mancini, who just actually recently signed with the Cubs, was someone who went through cancer as well, I believe, in 2020. So he was given some words of encouragement to Liam. He's been through it. Got his back. And when it comes to something like this, obviously, the whole city, everyone is behind them. So, let's hope Liam Hendriks kind of is going through his treatments well, and everything turns out great. As far as the Sox free agent signings, Andrew Benintendi made his 5-year, $75 million contract official. That was the largest in team history. We talk about that cheapness of Reinsdorf earlier.
Okay, never mind. Go on.
75 million. That's insane. That's the largest. there's a battle for second base. Gonzalez and Lennon Sosa will battle in spring training for the second base spot for the Sox. Eloy in right field has been seen prepping to play more outfield than DH, but with the Sox, Oscar Golas coming on strong, he could be the everyday option with Eloy DHing. And we've seen Eloy, what he does in the outfield. He just gets hurt. So maybe it is a good reason. Maybe it is a good thing to keep him at a DH, but also we'll see about that. I'm sure Jack would rather him DH instead of getting hurt every once in a while. Also, Jack's got Elvis Andrews here sitting on the free agent market as a potential cheap option, as the Sox could look to reunite with the infielder. And his time with the Sox wasn't bad. He was pretty productive during the little bit of time that they did have Elvis Andrews on there. I forgot who got hurt or what happened exactly that they had to bring him in, but he was productive while he was on the Sox for that little bit of time. But that is kind of what's going on right now with the Sox. Eric, do you have anything on the Sox? You were going to stop.
I'm surprised they even made moves outside of Andrew Benintendi. I didn't even know they made moves outside of that. It's been so damn quiet.
Like, I know. And this is a team that
needs help.
Last year was like, yeah, they're going to win it all. And then they need help bad. And especially in an AL Central that, well, Carlos Correa is back on the Twins. So that's actually kind of a bad thing.
Right. It is.
So it was hopeful that he was going to be out, but I mean, we see how that's gone so far.
But even then, right, Rick. And if there's anything positive I'm about to say about the Chicago White Sox, right, the very little things that I'm gonna say positively, because last year when I went on, I stuck my head out and kind of like almost threw away my Cubs fandom by picking them to win the World Series last year. Regardless of that, I digress from that stupidity of my decision, but I also feel like I cursed them too as well. So I feel like I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back on that one. But the thing about the White Sox is the fact of the matter is that their division is still as wide open as possible. Now remember, the Indians. I'm sorry, not the Indians. The Guardians.
Yeah.
Won it. I think we're only 3 or 4 games behind. With the Twins were only behind, or I forgot who else was behind them at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, still, the division is not as strong as you think it is, right? Even though the Guardians went all the way to the the ALCS, I think that they went up to NLDS, ALDS.
No, the Guardians didn't go. I thought, did they go to the ALCS?
They went
to the Astros.
The Guardians made somewhat of the noise in the AL division, right? But the thing is like that's the only thing about the White Sox that I'm gonna say positive is that the division is still wide open.
Mm-hmm.
The Royals may be a little bit better. The Tigers, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
The Twins, they got Carlos Correa back, but they still also have a lot of holes to fill. The Guardians will still be the Guardians to be that annoying little team in the back of your heel because they're being coached or managed by Terry Francona, who knows what the hell he's doing.
Yep.
Other than that, Rick, it still kind of feels like that division is wide open as possible for the Sox to, if their chips are played right, to make some noise in that division.
And that's kind of what I was thinking too, because the Guardians, even though they did, like you said, make that playoff run last year, they're still a pretty young team. Now, I mean, I was going to say inexperienced, but I mean, not necessarily inexperienced because they made the playoffs. And Carlos Correa coming back to the Twins doesn't necessarily, it makes them a contender, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win the Central, because they had them last year and they lost out at the end, right? Like the only one team made it out of the AL Central, and that was the Guardians. So, like you said, it's still wide open. The Royals, I don't really like the Royals, and the Tigers are like the Reds and the Pirates for the NL Central. Like, yeah, okay, they'll probably make a couple moves. They got a couple good prospects, but I mean, they're never really going to get out of that. They're probably never going to get above third place, right? So it is. Here we go.
So the Guardians ended up going 7 in the ALDS against the Yankees, and ended up losing.
That's what it was.
To the Yankees.
Yeah.
In the DS.
Yeah. So they did go far. They went a lot farther than I would think any AL Central team would have gone.
Sorry, they went 5. It's a
5-game series. Yeah,
it's a 5-game series.
Yeah. So I mean, they went far, and they're managed really well, like you said, from Terry Francona, a World Series winning, manager. But like you said, I think it's still open, and I think the same goes for the NL Central. But the Cardinals coming off a very good season. They have the reigning NL MVP in Goldschmidt. They've got Arenado there. They've got a really good good outfield, I would say. And I'm not entirely sure they're starting pitchers, although I think they were doing pretty well last year as well. But this could be either Cubs or Cards division, really, at the end of it. Do you think they do? Do you think the Cubs can do enough? Because I don't think the Brewers are going to be that good. I really don't think so. They look terrible after that, after the trade deadline. Who they thought were going to be Central winners. There's no way. There's no way.
I'm gonna take off my Cubs fandom for a second, right? And be
Ooh.
serious here, for a minute, right? The Cubs are gonna win the World Series. No, I'm just kidding.
Totally Cubs fandom off. Cubs fandom hat was off.
Took it all off. No, see, here's the thing about the Cubs, right? And I liked every move that they had made. I've liked the players that they got, the plug and players here and there. Bellinger, former MVP, 1-year deal. Trey Mancini, they got they officially signed him yesterday or today. I forgot what day it was that they officially signed him.
Yep.
The catcher,
Hosmer.
why am I blinking on his name?
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Something Hart, Bank Hart.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. All that being said, right? With Nico being Dansby Swanson, how can I forget about that one, right? The big guy, the big one right there in Swanson. Nico going to second. Look, will the Cubs be better? Yes. The Cubs were actually the 5th best team after the All-Star break last year. Let me hear that again.
Yeah.
They were the 5th best team after the All-Star break last year with the bad squad that they have. They have great players. They don't have great players. They have decent players to fill in this roster to where they can plug and play just in case if there's an injury here and there, right?
Yep.
And I think that's what's going to help the Chicago Cubs this year. And you're absolutely right. The Brewers, I mean, look, the Brewers will still be the Brewers until I see them stop brewing, right? The Cardinals will be the Cardinals simply because somehow, some way, they always find a way to make good business, and they will always be there for every single year. And the NL Central will always be wide open because of the teams that are in it, right? And there goes the Pittsburgh Pirates. Although I think that's going to be my surprise team this year is going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates on what they have in their squad too as well. Not surprising to where like they're going to make that astronomical ass jump and take over the Central, but enough to where they're going to be that little thorn in everybody's heel when the season's right around the corner. With all that being said, I think the Cubs have this opportunity, like you said, for in a wide open division that is not as wide open as the White Sox is, but just enough to like be annoying, right?
Yeah.
Do I see them making the playoffs? I still don't. If you were to tell me to choose, if you would tell me to choose between who has the better season this year or who has the better position to make the playoffs, like I'm leaning a little bit. I'm talking about like just a slight lean. Like I'm like if my foot was like half inch shorter than my left foot, right? But I'm slightly leaning towards the White Sox as the possibility of being the team that's coming out of Chicago to make the play. But like Rick, I'm talking about it's like it's very little because the White Sox that I saw last year to end the season, not even end the season, it's just the White Sox period that I saw the whole entire last year. It's a team that has a lot of holes and a team that still needs a lot of those holes to be fixed. Now they're going to have a great pitching a great pitching rotation. I'll give them that. It's just everything else behind it, and I still see them struggling from the left hand side. I don't think they even upgraded on that side of the bat. Andrew Benintendi, he's just a contact hitter. I don't think he doesn't have that much pop. They need pop on that side, and that's pretty much it. And for the Cubs, it's kind of like we have all these new players coming in, so we are going to have to wait and see what these players are going to do. So, again, you tell me this question before the season starts, I may change it But for the moment, the White Sox will probably be the team. If I were to choose, if there's a Chicago team to represent in the playoffs, slightly leaning towards the White Sox.
And you have a lot of good reasons. Like, don't get me wrong. I think for the White Sox, like it again, just like last season, it has to be AL Central winners or not, or no playoffs. Like, I think it really, for them, because I think the AL is a pretty strong conference. You saw the AL East, how many teams they had going, right? And even the Orioles, they were just they barely did
Barely missed out.
missed out. Yeah, they barely missed out on the playoffs. And you had Blue Jays, the Yankees, and the I'm spacing on the other. Oh no,
The
I
Blue
think it was
Jays,
only those
Yankees,
two.
Orioles, and the Rays.
Yeah. So even the Rays, right? Like, they made it too. So I think for the White Sox, it's like I said, AL Central bust, man. Like, you can't make it. So for the Cubs, though, I think they have a better shot to make the wild card. Now, look, the starting rotation gonna be kind of meh, but Adbert Alzolay comes back. Hopefully, Hendricks finds somewhat of a groove to be back in. Stroman looked, yeah, he's got to be healthy and he's got to come back to his like former self. Stroman looked good in the second half of the season, but I think what the Cubs are going to do, right, with the additions of Bellinger, Swanson, Mancini, these guys, Mancini and Hosmer and Bellinger, I think are just those gap guys. They're the gap guys for Pete Crow Armstrong and for oh my God, I'm forgetting his name, but he's the Matt Mervis, the next guy coming up for first base. The second coming of Anthony Rizzo is what they're calling him really at this point, which would be awesome.
Right.
So I think they're going to do enough, and you should be able to see these guys come up sometime during the season with the veteran leadership there, the September call-ups, whatever you want to call it. I think they have a better shot at the playoffs in the wild card than the Sox do, because I feel like the NL is a little bit more wide open in general. They don't have as many powerhouse teams as the AL does. Going into this year, I think.
I don't know, man, because if you look at the NL side, I mean, you still got the Braves.
Yeah.
The Mets upgraded. You still have the two teams in the West between the Dodgers and the Padres, so there's one spot guaranteed there. You also have the Phillies, who, by the way, the Phillies went to the World Series last year, so you also got to remember that part too as well.
And they got a little bit better.
Right. So that's 5 teams, plus the Cardinals is another one, right? And that's obviously that's another division is going to give up. So that's 6 teams right there that you can probably give or take, a position or two, right?
Yeah.
You're right. But that's just one more opening left. Because only 7 teams make
exactly.
it, right? Just one more opening. But you're absolutely right on that point. But at the same time, though, Rick, it's more of give or take of what are we going to see in a year where this year is a little bit different. The schedule, remember, they're going to play against everybody. I'm talking about they're playing against every single team in the calendar in the MLB season. You don't see that. You don't hear that. This is the first time that they're going to experience this way. Oh, and by the way, the Cubs Cardinals are going out to London for a game for a game or two as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit different this year. That's why to me it's kind of like if you put it in that setup, I feel like the setup is mainly more for a team that's already been there and done that. And that's why I kind of lean a little bit more towards the White Sox because of the continuity of that team one has instead of a team that's just barely put together this year. Again. Give me this question before the season starts, and I may change it because I'm leaning a little bit towards the White Sox, but I have to see what the White Sox are going to do before the season starts.
Exactly, and I'm not saying like it's anything. It's a fair point, right? Because who knows what the Cubs are going to do at the trade deadline? Do they trade Cody Bellinger? Do they bring up Pete Armstrong? Do these guys even make the major league roster at all? Who do they cut? Who do they, designate for assignments? Like, does Stroman continue being a good pitcher? Like, there's just so many questions. And you're right. The fact that this team has been assembled pretty much over the offseason is huge for like meshing for just team chemistry. So no, 100% you're right. But I still think even now, and depending on injuries, stuff during spring training, I still got the Cubs with a better shot at the playoffs than the White Sox do.
Man, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And it was hard
Yeah,
taking
me
off my
too.
Cubs hat, my Cubs fandom hat. But to be really honest with you, man,
Mm,
it's just the way how I see it. And I
yeah.
honestly do believe that for the moment, the White Sox are constructed a little bit better with the continuity of what they have,
Hmm.
even with the holes,
Hmm.
than what the Cubs did in filling up their holes for the major league rosters. But yeah, Cubs World Series.
Let's go.
I can't even say that. I can't even say that with
With a straight
conviction.
face.
I can't even say that with my chest.
And this is just another great plug for 3 Up, 3 Down podcast, also on Star 6 Media. So go check that out. Once the season gets a little closer, obviously you're going to get more episodes from 3 Up from Alex and Jack there. But all right, that was Crosstown Convo. And thank you guys again for joining us here on Big League Chicago, brought to you by Star 6 Media. Hop on the comments, like, share, hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube, anywhere. Just let us know how well we're doing. But let's move on to our final segment. Like we usually do, we're going to end off with 4 stars of the week. I'm going to start off with Jax here because he made sure to get me one before he after all the notes he had for the Sox and the Hawks. So his star of the week, first star of the week, goes to Blackhawks goalie Jackson Stauber. He recorded his first NHL win in his first career start, stopping 29 of 32 in the Hawks win 5-3 over the Blues. CP was saying that they beat the Blues 5-3, and there you go, rookie goalie in the net, and they were able to take that dub. So that's Jack's star of the week there. Eric, do you want to go or you want me to go?
I got it. My star of the week is Miley Cyrus. She came out with a banger and the most savage way possible.
I'm gonna let you finish, but
I mean, hey man, look, that's the best way to do it. I mean,
facts,
on
facts.
dude's birthday, this song, all of
Yep.
that, all the whole nine. Miley
Yeah.
Cyrus is my honorable mention for star of the week. I'm not Kevin Warren, man. I think Kevin Warren to me is the star of the week for the Chicago Bears, man. Like everything that he said,
Mm-hmm.
like CP said, was authentic. There was no paper, there was nothing. It's straight off top of the dome in a very eloquent way. Like, and he just made you feel like you're becoming a better person at whatever you were working on that day at your job or whatever you were doing. Listening to him, and it just gives you just hope and inspiration and a lot of optimism that the Bears are going to get it done, not only as a team on the field but also as an organization on what they're trying to do is for their next step of and creating their new stadium. So Kevin Warren, star of the week.
Star of the week for Kevin Warren. Cannot agree more. Third one for me, and I'll get the last one too because I've already got a fourth one. Third one's going to be Zach LaVine for scoring 30 in Paris, going into a Detroit home game in quotes, and taking the dub there with 30 points. I think he's doing pretty well in Atlanta. He's already had a couple good dunks in Atlanta tonight. The Bulls are up, by the way, I think by like 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 54 to 47.
Oh, okay. So yeah, about 7 points. But yeah, Bulls in Paris. Zach showed out 30 points. Did really well. Hopefully can continue that. That'd be fucking awesome if you could just score 30 every game. That'd be great. But Zach LaVine gets my third star of the week. And the fourth and final star of the week, I think Eric might agree with me on this one, is going to be DeMar DeRozan for playing in his 1000th game tonight.
Yep.
Against the Hawks. That just goes to show the durability from DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, and he continuing game in and game out. Let me speak. Game in and game out that he's been coming and just producing in a high level at the age that he's in for the amount of games that he's played at 1,000 games and stuff. So, yeah, congratulations to DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, congrats to DeMar. I mean, he's been nothing but consistent since coming to Chicago. Obviously, we thought we were like, oh man, yeah, we got a number 2 guy, and most of the times he's the number 1 guy on the team. So, so for the third star of the week, step it up. But yes, that is the 4 stars of the week. We appreciate you guys joining us for 4 stars of the week and Big League Chicago. One last announcement. I talked to Eric about this before the episode streamed, but just to let you guys know, we will actually be Big League Chicago will be taking a hiatus. Starting today. Today will be the last episode until we re-up on Big League Chicago. So we're not entirely sure when Big League Chicago is going to come back, but I wanted to let you guys know, everyone who's listening, everyone who's watching right now, whether it be in podcast form or live stream form, I want to let you guys know without just like not coming out with episodes for the next few weeks and just everybody's like, what the fuck? For those who have been listening on podcasts and have been tuning in when we do go live, I can't say that I appreciate you guys more. Like, really, this started a little over a year ago with just my love for Chicago sports. And it's not that it's ending. Again, it's just a hiatus, just a quick break as we kind of get into the Star 6 media world, like just evolving it from the inside out. But I also do only football, and it takes a lot of time. And I think JCA guys, they talk Chicago sports pretty damn well. So they're going to be taking over, whether it be on Mondays or on Wednesdays when they do record. So there will be no shortage of Chicago sports talk on Star 6 Media at all. We're all Chicago guys, except for like a couple of people at Star 6 Media. So we're going to be talking Chicago sports all the time, whether it be Hawks, Bulls, Bears, Cubs, or White Sox. It's going to be talked about. So
big facts.
Yeah, but
and right obviously now, we will let you guys be notified too on our social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that, all our social media platforms. We'll let you guys know. And obviously, if something important pops up, right, we'll just have that emergency podcast so we can all talk about it and just be excited and whatever, or be sad, or whatever the emergency podcast will be about. We'll let you guys know.
For sure. So again, just appreciate all you guys that have been listening consistently. I see the numbers on the podcast page. So again, I just appreciate all you guys for listening in. But again, just a quick, we're going to take a break here from Big League Chicago, focus more on JCA, only football, slot shot, EAFP, 3 Up, 3 Down, Sports Trip Live, all these. Yep, there you go. See, what does that say? Manchester United? Yeah, Manchester United.
Good thing this is going to be gone for a couple weeks.
Eric's like, I've had it fucking enough of you, dude. But he's got the Arsenal kit on. That's what it is. He's got the Arsenal kit.
I even got the underwear, but I don't think people want to see that. Trust me, man.
Show it.
And I'll describe it for everyone somewhere in there. I'm embarrassed.
But again, appreciate everyone who's been listening. Appreciate Eric, Jose, John, Jack, everyone who has come on and been a part of Big League Chicago. We will let you guys know, like Eric said, if we need to have an emergency Big League Chicago podcast, we will. And we will obviously let you guys know when we are back to finally to doing this show again weekly. But just wanted to give all you guys a heads up. Eric, thank you for joining me on this episode of Big League Chicago. You got anything else before we skedaddle up out of here?
Hell yeah, come on, you Gunners. Let's go. We on top of the league. We are top of the league. We are top of the league. We are top of the league. You know what? I got to tone it down, though. I got to tone it down. Right now. I got to tone it down. I'm as excited as I love the banter and the trash talking and all of it that happened over the weekend. Obviously, I know it was like 3 against 1, with the matchup on Sunday, but as a fan, as a realist, and as a guy, I gotta keep it low, man. I gotta keep my feet on the ground because
no, don't ever.
Look, Rick, look. You just I don't know how much you know about Arsenal Football Club, man, but January and February, somehow, some way, Arsenal just flops around those 2 months. Whether because they don't make that enough signings or something happens.
You got to keep it quiet.
Right now, they went perfect in January, so that's why I'm a little bit more elevated, right? But February's coming. They got the Manchester City game coming up too on the 15th, and then they have them this weekend in the FA Cup. So again, I'm grounded. I have to be grounded, but I'm telling you that every game that passes by, and every week that passes by, and I'm seeing these performances, man, it's hard for me not to just we're gonna win the league, it's just no.
Oh, believe me, I know what you mean.
Woosah. But man,
that's just another
videos about Arsenal or something on TikTok or on Instagram or something like that, man. I just get this feeling, bro. But I'm just
which is, and again, that's just another great plug. You guys are hearing Eric right now. Go listen to EAFP for when eventually this all collapses on Arsenal's head, right?
I hate you.
Because that's great podcasting right there.
No. I hope not. The way how this team is constructed and been playing, it's nowhere to be seen so far. But I got passing February, and then we're still good.
Yeah.
You might see a whole different version of me. I'm letting you know that right now.
Oh man,
good or bad.
This banter between Jack and Eric is going to be amazing in the coming few weeks. But all right, Eric, thank you again for joining me. And guys, stay tuned for Big League Chicago. It's not going away. This isn't goodbye. It's see you later.
That's a good one.
See ya.
See ya.